Well, hey there everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Adam, thanks for hanging out with me again today. And on today's video, we're going to start taking a look at this Kyosho Raider. What? There's one behind me on the shelf? Yeah, I told you guys I got problems. So, that one I picked up 6 months ago now probably, and it was in really good shape. The only thing it needed was really some, touch-ups on the body. It had, a few minor cracks and everything, and the stickers were starting to peel, so I just went ahead and got a new MCI sticker pack and Team Blue Groove body, and put a whole brand new body set and decals on there. And when I got done, I didn't want to run it. Well, came across this one, couldn't pass it up. So I've had this one for probably 5 months now. Shortly after I got that and got the new body on there, just started browsing. Came across this one, and this one came from Canada, and I got a heck of a deal on it. So I paid $161 Canadian for it, which worked out right now to about 120 bucks. It's in really good shape. The body's in pretty good shape. It's got some splitting here and there, and it's had its fair share of abuse. Hand painted, so it's an original or old body, but the stickers are all in good shape. Body's in decent shape. So the purpose of this is going to be a runner. Front tires are in great shape, always are. A little stiff. Back tires are in good shape. There is some slight flat spotting on them, but I'm hoping I can try to put some foams in there and expand them out and let them sit for a while. Hopefully get that flat spot out of them. Now, overall, car's in pretty good shape. It's, has some scuffs and scrapes and stuff on the bumper and down the chassis, but nothing bad. There's no real damage to it that I can see. There are some things wrong with it. So, like up front, holding on one of the shocks is one of those big square nuts, like out of Grandpa's nut and bolt can out of the garage. Now, when it came, it was missing the axle and the drive cup on the left side of it. Now, I did find some drive cups online. Was able to get those, but did find that there is the drive cup and the pin that goes through the transmission in the bag as well. The reason the drive cup and the drive shaft was missing is the drive shaft snapped in half. If you're not familiar with the Raider, it basically has metal ends and metal bars going into a plastic center part of the axle. Kind of a dumb way to do it, but I guess it was saving them money not have to make full metal axles. I don't know. It just seems like a bad idea and fails. Thankfully, in the box, there are two brand new axles in there. So I have axles, I have the drive cup, I have the spring for the drive cup in here as well. So that worked out well. Now this has already been converted over to electronic speed control, and it did come with the box IntelliSpeed ESC. And it's a 16-turn ESC, so, it's going to do anything I plan on putting in there. 17-turn is about the lowest I usually put in any cars. So this does have a racing prep racing motor in it, or a race prep racing motor in it. Not sure what the turns are on it. Needs to be taken out, cleaned, resoldered, all that jazz. So included with the car was an TAC T2DR twin stick radio, and the receiver I've stuck in here because it was just kind of rattling around. So it does have the controller and the receiver. I do have the manual with it and the manual for the controller, so that's pretty cool. Still has the square battery pack for if you were running the mechanical speed control. I believe I ordered these separate. I think I just saw these while looking for parts. So this is the top deck of the trans and the rear shock tower. I think they were like 10 bucks for the pair, so I just went ahead and picked those up. This, I believe, is the servo mount. I think it goes over here for running the mechanical speed control. And then it had 3 extra servos with it. I'm assuming one was running the mechanical speed control, and the other 2 are just extras that he had and just threw in the box. Long story short, everything looks to be here. Everything looks to be in good shape. The only problem is there is some clunky grinding mess going on in the transmission. So as part of stripping it down and getting it cleaned up to put back together to run it, I'm going to be inspecting everything. Plus, I've got to figure out what's going on in the gearbox. I'm pretty sure there's a gear in there that's missing a tooth. So either when the drive shaft broke. You know, something went wrong and it bound up and chunked a gear in the transmission, or potentially it chunked a gear in the transmission and caused the drive shaft to break. One of the two probably has something to do with the other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this thing stripped down. Since I have the manual, I really don't have to worry about, you know, screw placement and everything. So I'm just going to buzz this apart and get it all into parts and pieces so I can start cleaning up and get that thing inspected. Once I have it apart and know what needs to be replaced, I'll come back, give you guys a rundown, and then unfortunately I'm going to have to order that stuff and, you know, wait for it. But for you guys, it won't take long at all because, you know, it's all in this video. So I'll come back as soon as I get it torn down. Alright, well, we have a bench full of parts and pieces. Everything's been stripped down. The only thing I did leave together is the front knuckle assemblies, the uprights, and the C-hubs. Really no point in tearing it all down, so I'm just going to get those cleaned up. Took the arms off to make sure that there were no cracks or anything. I don't see any cracks in the arms. Front shock towers are fine, rear shock towers are fine, so everything looks pretty good. The only thing I did notice that was cracked was you have these two little L braces that go from the chassis up to the front bulkhead, and they're cracked in the corners. I'm pretty sure if I can't find these, then I can just make some out of some carbon fiber and just bolt them down and it'll do a good job bracing it. So I'm not too worried about those. Did tear into the transmission and there were no bad gears. So that was good. The problem is the metal gears inside the diff are just worn slam out, and they're worn in one direction. So wherever they ran this, you know, it was almost like it was oval track. It was, you know, all forward all the time. But you can actually hear it. You can hear the gears kind of like clunking around in there. There's just a lot of play. The teeth are just very worn out. And instead of nice pointed teeth, they're kind of like lean back teeth. So I need to find internal gears for this. Thankfully, all the plastic parts are good. It's just the metal gears inside. So hopefully I can find those. I do have to order those. Now, as far as the motor goes, it just says Race Prep Racing Motor. I have no idea what the turn is. I'm assuming the orange kind of peachy colored end bell may indicate what it is. I'm gonna look it up, see if I can find it out. If I do, it's here. If not, there'll be a bunch of question marks because I still don't know. Still need to test the electronics. If this doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. I put a 1060 in it, no big deal. So right now I got to get all this stuff cleaned up, scrubbed up, ready to go, get all the hardware cleaned up. Now I do have to replace a few pieces. We had some sort of odd wood metal self-tapping screw for one of the front shocks, and then a standard flathead screw with a big square nut on it holding the other one on. So that's no big deal. I've got plenty of hardware, so I'll just be able to replace those. Shocks are all in good shape, need a good clean. The springs just need to be polished up and a good clean and a lube, but they feel really nice. So they're not bound up, so it's not like it's full of old crunchy grease or anything. So these should be pretty quick and easy to get back in good shape. I doubt if I put oil-filled shocks on here. Probably just going to run the pogos on there. And it did have bronze, like the brass bushings throughout, so we're going to get all new bearings put in it. So for right now, that's what we've got. So I'm going to work on cleaning this up, and I'll be right back once we get everything cleaned up and I'm ready to start putting it back together. Well, here you go, guys. This is the buggy all finished. I really enjoyed the process. You know, being able to take one of these, strip it down, scrub it all up, clean it, get in dirt out of all the little nooks and crannies, and then get it all put back together again. You know, it's therapeutic, it's enjoyable. I just enjoy doing it. I have a pile more I need to get to, so I need to keep enjoying it. But overall, everything went well. Had no surprises, really. Now, there's a few things I need to address. One is I'm not running it right now. So unfortunately, guys, I'm sorry. My track is a muddy mess. The yard is wet and nasty still. And again, I just spent a long time cleaning out every little nook and cranny on this. So I'm not really excited about going to get it muddy. Dirty? Sure. I can get it, you know, dry stuff off, no problem. I just don't want it caked with mud. So we're not running it right now. And the second thing is we're not running it with this, race prep motor in there. I put it back in, it works. You know, I tested it with a battery to make sure it worked. And it does work. It smells completely fried though. So once you turn it on and give it some gas, you know, it goes fine. It just, this flavor, this super pungent fried motor smell comes up out of it. So this needs to come apart, get completely torn down, and rebuilt, new brushes and everything. The brushes are very worn, so whoever had this really got their enjoyment out of it before they let it go. But it does work. Radio's on. This is the servo that was in it. It goes well, but whew, man, it's just like, it smacks you right in the face with fried electrics. So that motor's coming out. I'm probably gonna stick, you know, a Holmes Hobby motor or something into it that I have on hand. You know, I don't want to stick just a plain silver can in it, but you know, anything's going to be better than the smoke machine here. So again, got to rebuild that motor. The only thing I got to do is I got to take the receiver off, take the antenna out of the way, pop that cover off, swap the motor out, and we'll be good to go. Overall, the rebuild went very well. Didn't find any other issues. Now, I mentioned before these little L brackets that help brace the front end to the chassis. I decided not to try to remake those. One, it was going to take quite a while for me to go out there and cut and sand and drill and all that stuff, some carbon fiber by hand to make those. And they really don't hold that much. So the one was still good. The other one had a crack in it that was halfway through. So I just gently pried it apart, put some super glue in it, and then I actually built it up with some super glue and baking soda. So I have my little bag of baking soda here that says baking soda, not cocaine, because it looks a little bit incriminating here. Built that up and then just colored over it with Sharpie, so you can't even tell that it's been repaired, but hopefully that'll be good enough for running it. If it does break again, it's not that big of a deal. I can go ahead and make it if I can't find it. Unfortunately, that was one of the pieces that I could not find scrounging around on eBay. Thankfully, the diff that I did find on eBay was perfect. It fit in there great. Now, I did find that the drive cups that I had gotten did not work with this. Evidently, those were for the Kyosho truck, and the diff it's the splines and the hole in those diffs are a little bit different. So when I got it put in there, I put the new drive cups in, and I was going back and forth, and all of a sudden I heard it go, and I'm like, oh my God, what? So basically, the old drive cups are in here, which they were fine. They're not worn out. The diff is pretty stiff. I put some tacky grease in there, so it's pretty. It's going to have some traction. Let's put it that way. It's going to want to push a lot. But, you know, this isn't going to be a track beast. It's just going to be a fun runner for me. So I'm not trying to set records with this one or anything. This is just to actually be able to go out and run a Raider and not tear up the one behind me. The body, all I did was put some foil reinforcement tape on there, so it's got the mesh in it. And then I put in these little wing slots that were starting to crack on both sides. I just laid it down, taped up where the cracks were, and then squirted in some of the E6000 glue and just let it go right down into that crack and dry. And I put, I think, 2 applications of it, and so now those little cracks seem to be bolstered pretty well. You know, it's not going to be a permanent solution, but it'll hopefully keep it from ripping, you know, the first time it takes a tumble. Again, the body's not in pristine shape, but I don't want a pristine one on here to keep me from running it. Now the mud, like I said, is going to keep me from running it. If it was just damp out there, sure, I would take it around, but you know, it's just been melting snow, rain, and yuck. There was one thing I did wrong, and it was just not paying attention. The upper links, I put the rear ones on the front. So when it was sitting here, we had stance life, and I'm like, oops. So unfortunately, I'd already put the rears on and had to take all that stuff back apart. And getting these fronts on is a pain because basically the screws here are very long. They go through the shock tower, they go through the link, they go through the shock tower, they go through the shock, and you just have all this screw here. So getting a screwdriver in there and backing that all the way out was not working. So basically I just dismantled the whole front end off the car real quick so I could get that off. Not that big of a deal. That was just, you know, me not paying 100% attention. So one other thing I had to do is these hex drives on the rear of this are the worst designed hex drives in the world. They're the tapered hex drive. So basically your axle has a bit of a taper to it. The inside of the hex drive, so your axle's kind of tapered like this a little bit, and your hex drive is tapered like this. So when they come together, they smash together and it's a friction fit. Problem is that's very exaggerated. It's, you know, very little pitch to either one of those. So if you don't get a wheel tightened up and it starts spinning that hex on there, you're just wallowing out that aluminum hex. So one of them was very loose, the other one was loose. So the way to fix that, by not having to buy new ones, if you take the hub off, the hex off, put it onto something hard, you know, your concrete floor, a vise or something that you can hit on. Take a big wood screw or a nail punch if you have one, and then go around the inside edge. I'll put the picture up here so you see what I'm talking about. But you have your opening here on the inside. You want to come in just a little bit onto the wheel hex, and in like 4 spaces, just tap with a hammer. And tap. Don't try to drive a nail, just tap. And what it does is it puts a little dent in those 4 little spots, which will actually deform the aluminum just enough to where when you go to push those on, you can get it on there, it'll stay clamped, and then you can get your wheel nuts on. That's a fix for those little wheel hexes if they wallow out like that and they're loose. Now, if they get really wallowed out, it's probably time you need to replace the axles and those wheel hexes because they probably just worn themselves to death. Anyway, guys, I have rambled on enough. You know, sorry, again, this was a lot of talking and no action, but we do have a built car. I'm excited to have it, and let me get the other one down. There they are both together. This one has a nice new shiny body, has a Novak, what is this, Duster Sport ESC in it. This has a Reedy MVP motor in it. It also has the chrome finish oil-filled dampers on it. And I'm not sure what these tires are, but there's some monster, like, aggressive punk rock spikes on here. But this one, you know, it's in much better shape. There's not really too many scrapes and scratches on it. The bumper's a little tore up, but the chassis, the suspension arms, all that stuff are really, really in good shape. So this one, gonna stay the shelf queen. This one's gonna be the runner. So this one gets to take up all the abuse. This one doesn't have to see. Anyway, guys, I hope everybody enjoyed the video. Everybody out there, you guys be happy, be healthy, be safe, and I will catch you guys on the next one. See you.